Welcome back to the second to last Riggedy Report episode of football season before we change it over to college basketball after the national championship. We would like to apologize for the technical difficulties that we were having last night on bringing you guys the show, but we hope we've worked out all of our technical difficulties and can enjoy a great day in next 2 days of college football. There are games out there that are amazing, and I've been looking forward to these 2 days since these bowl matchups came out. We're going to first start with the game that is going to kick off in a couple hours down in Atlanta in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between Florida State and Houston. I expect Florida State to come in here ready. They're without Everett Golson, as we all know. Left the team for personal reasons, supposedly. But Dalvin Cook, I expect Dalvin Cook to be ready and have his team ready. On the other side for Houston, Tom Herman, head coach, I think he'll have his boys ready. But I see Florida State having too much in this game, and I'm gonna have to pick Florida State to win. Now, in the first of the two national semifinals this afternoon, the Clemson Tigers will be taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. I've went back and forth on this game, and later we'll get my picks. But it's been one of those games where, yes, Oklahoma is built to win a national title. But on the other side, you have Deshaun Watson. You have Gallman. You have all these other weapons for Clemson. And for an analyst like me to sit here and pick one of these games, you got Perine for Oklahoma. You got Mayfield. And the list goes on and on. And I have sat here and debated this game, and you'll have to stick tuned to see who I have picked. In the second semifinal down in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium in at the Cotton Bowl, Goodyear Cotton Bowl, Classic. The Alabama Crimson Tide will be taking on the Michigan State Spartans. I've also looked at this game in all different directions, and the main thing that all of it comes down to, in my opinion, is can Michigan State stop Derrick Henry? If Michigan State can stop Derrick Henry, they will have a legitimate chance to move on to the national title. If they don't, then it could be a long day for the Spartans. I'm not counting Michigan State out. I know they still have their weapons on offense. They have Connor Cook fully healthy back. They have L.J. Scott, Gerald Holmes. But I believe the main factor of this game is can Michigan State's defense, which we've seen is good all year in big games, can Michigan State's defense stop Derrick Henry? That is going to be the X factor of this game. You'll have Herb Street, Chris Fowler, and Heather Cox on the call from Arlington, Texas today. That is a great broadcasting crew. Love to hear what Herb Street has to say in his games. Moving on to the Battlefront Fiesta Bowl tomorrow afternoon in Glendale, Arizona. Two storied programs, as we all know. Ohio State will be taking on Notre Dame. I've talked to people about this game. Numerous reports did come out yesterday from my sources out in Glendale. Could we see a Chip Kelly job at Ohio State being offensive coordinator? The offense was not the best this year. I don't know if having Chip Kelly come in as an offensive coordinator will do much. We know his offensive schemes where he had in Oregon. But that is going to be an interesting story to watch over the next, couple days, weeks, to see where he'll go. And it'll be especially key after the NFL season, regular season is over this Sunday, to see if the Titans make a push towards him, is because reports also have him wanting to go to Tennessee and possibly going to Tennessee. So this Notre Dame game is going to be a huge game for both teams, but I expect Ohio State to be ready and put the regular season behind them. Regular season was not the best. I understand they only lost one game. In that one game, they should have won. You feed the horse Zeke, and I think you get to one of these New Year's Six. One of these semifinals. I really do. Michigan State's defense did not play very well in the shoe. It was Urban's play calling that lost them that game. Moving on to the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl out in Pasadena. Tomorrow afternoon at 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time. That game can be also seen on ESPN. Number 5, the Iowa Hawkeyes will be taking on the 6th-ranked Stanford Cardinals. We all know Stanford's success this year, beating Notre Dame on a last-second field goal. That's one of their highlights. Iowa going undefeated in the regular season, losing on I'm going to say last-second play. It was on the last drive of the game. It was about 9-minute drive Michigan State had, where they took it from one end of the field to the other and ultimately scored and won that game, and that is why Michigan State is sitting in Arlington playing for possibly a national championship. But I don't see Iowa in their quarterback situation being able to hold up to Stanford's offense. You got Christian McCaffrey, you got Kevin Hogan. Those two are dynamic playmakers for that offense. And if you can't stop, which I don't expect Iowa to be able to stop Christian McCaffrey, then it's game over. It is ultimately game over. We will have to see if that comes true tomorrow afternoon. You got Jesse Palmer, Brent Musburger, and Marie Taylor on the call from Pasadena. That'll be a game to keep your eye on while you're watching these other games. But it could be a barn burner. Moving on to our last game of the New Year's Six, the All-State Sugar Bowl between number 12 Ole Miss and number 16 Oklahoma State. Chad Kelly. I'm just gonna start with Chad Kelly. I believe Chad Kelly will have a huge game for the Rebels. It's gonna ultimately, in my opinion, come down to, can Ole Miss's defense stop Oklahoma State's offense? Because I believe Chad Kelly will put up yards, will put up points for his team tomorrow. But I don't see a very good shot for Oklahoma State. I really don't. It'll be really interesting if they come out and their defense is a very good defense, but their defense has struggled at times this year in big games. I'm talking about Ole Miss's defense. So if they can come out and run and gun on offense, and their defense can stand up, I believe Oklahoma State will lose, and Ole Miss will get that big, elusive bowl win for their program. Before we leave you, we have some news out of the state of Texas this morning. Trevon Boykin was arrested earlier this morning for assaulting a police officer. I woke up this morning and flipped on the ESPN app like I always do, and it was right there. And the first thing that came to my mind is where's TCU's focus? I understand Boykin was not going to play due to injury, but from all reports, he was in San Antonio with the team ahead of their Alamo Bowl game tomorrow against Oregon. What does that do to the team now? Does he get them unfocused? Is because it happened at a bar? Not saying you can't go out and party, but you need to be aware of your surroundings. You don't take an assault on police officers, because what he's ultimately going to find himself is, if he declares for the NFL draft, his draft stock just went down. If he comes back, that is going to be looming over him, which he should come back, and I believe he will come back, but that's just going to loom over him. So that is going to be a thing to watch today and tomorrow. See how TCU rebounds. It's time to get my picks before we send you off for a great 2 days of college football. As I said earlier, in the Peach Bowl, I got Florida State. In the first semifinal of the Capital One Bowl, I'm going out on a limb here, and it's a pretty strong limb. I'm taking Oklahoma. I believe Oklahoma's offense will run roughshod all over Clemson's defense. I think it will be close late in the fourth quarter, but I just see Oklahoma pulling away. In the second semifinal, I really do think Derrick Henry is going to be too much for Michigan State to handle. We've seen his games this year where late in the game he will just take over. We saw that in the LSU game. And especially, I want to talk about Alabama's offense really, really quick. In that LSU game, Leonard Fournette was not talked about. He was talked about before the game, coming into the game. But during that game, he was not talked about because Alabama's defense stopped him in his tracks. And then Derrick Henry just went on to his normal game of rushing for 200-plus yards. I got the Buckeyes winning in Glendale tomorrow. Sorry, I got to wrap it up. I'm being told I got to wrap it up. I got Stanford in the Rose Bowl, and I got Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. We would like to thank you for joining us on another episode of the Riggedy Report. We'll probably be sending out a tweet and Instagram post in the next week, setting up the show date for our next show. But until then, enjoy your college football today, tomorrow, and the rest of the next week. There are obviously great games today and tomorrow. Always tweet me at Riggedy Rice Jr. on Twitter, and find me at Matthew Rice 3 on Instagram. Thanks for joining us.